Hey, Dr. Denny here at UCL Gym. I want to talk today about elbow injuries in baseball and softball players. And the last 2 years, clinically, I've seen a major influx of kids from 10 to college age coming in with a lot of elbow injuries, a lot of UCL, ulnar collateral ligament, known as Tommy John injuries. Some having full out surgical repair, Tommy John reconstructions, UCL reconstructions due to the severity of them too. And I had a free moment in these last couple of years. I want to talk about this, maybe try to get in front of it. Major League Baseball, collegiate softball is starting to see a slight, at least leveling off, maybe a slight pulling back of these injuries. However, we've seen a major increase going again across through all age divisions in both softball and baseball in our youth sports. And so we got to make some changes here too, right? So just real quick, I have Kate here with me. So what we're talking about here is at the elbow is this UCL ligament, which is actually composed up of 3 different bands, an anterior, posterior, and a transverse. Now we don't need to get too deep in the weeds here too, but essentially this ligament gets strained quite a bit with pitching, with throwing, both in baseball and softball players, and your outfielders too, maybe your third baseman here a little bit as well. And the trick is going to be how we keep this whole system healthy so we're not overly loading this tissue, having injuries, having problems. The hardest thing to tell a parent or an athlete of a player is that, hey, listen, this has been maybe a mid-level sprain, not completely torn. We kind of need to shut things down for like the next 4 to 6 weeks to get in front of this. And you're telling that to somebody on a traveling team, or maybe it's mid-season, and they got goals in mind, they have things they want to do, they've had money they put out, and sitting back and not pitching for 4 to 6 weeks doesn't sound like a good idea at the moment. But the next step is that we continue it, it's still painful, still irritated, and we develop a full thickness tear. Now we need a surgical reconstruction and probably about a good 6 to 12 month shutdown on that before getting back to full high level activity. So let's go through a few things to prevent these here too, right? So the first one I think is the easiest, like the low hanging fruit, is a good warm up, a good prep and a good warm up. And what I mean by that is doing things to prep the entire system, not just the elbow, right? But the hand, the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder blade, the core, the hips, the knees, the ankles for this activity. And what I hate seeing is people who just do a couple quick, cross shoulder stretches, overhead stretches, and kind of thinking that that's all there is to it. I'm not sure you're stretching what you think you're stretching with this, and I'm not sure you want to be stretching what you think you're stretching anyway. We want dynamic prep, warm up, getting things, blood moving, muscles firing, activated, not passive stretches that at best, if you are stretching something out, back of the shoulder, cuff, lats, whatever, will decrease power performance by 15% in a activity that requires a lot of torque and power conversion. Doesn't make sense. So what are some good opportunities here, some good options for this dynamic warm-up? We're gonna have Kate do this here. Let's find the backstop, find the back of a car, just find some surface, find a wall. With your back of your heels to that surface, take a natural step forward. Don't stride, just a natural step. You can still adjust here too. Keep your feet facing forward. Turn, look, and catch yourself on that backstop wall, back of the car, and spring off. And just go both directions. Turn back, hit it, spring off. Just like that. We're getting shoulder blade, a lot of our upper body, torso, trunk, warmed up, primed, ready for rotational patterns and movements, right? So after that, and in no particular order per se, let's get on all fours, right? So this might be a hard sell maybe for some of the teams, but being in a quadruped position, a bear crawl position, hands and knees position, also wakes up a lot of things. We do a lot of great stuff from this here too. So Kate's head, get down, hands and knees, maybe facing that way. So now from here, right, just think about a couple key things, right? So Kate, take your shoulders and get them as far away from your hands as you can. That's it, right? So now from there, lift your knees off the ground a little bit. Good. Now just this position alone is waking up some stuff here too, through our shoulders, through our core, through our hips. We get our ankles, some toe mobility through here as well. So now from here, I can just kind of hold. If we're younger, hold for time. We can also actually do a turn towards the turn straw here a little bit. There you go. Now hold that same position. Keep your shoulders as far away from your hands as possible. Now Slowly take your right hand, tap your left shoulder. Boom, right back down. Left hand, left shoulder, right? We can add in some shoulder taps in through here. I love it, looking great. Now, stay right there. Start crawling towards the camera, slow and steady. Good. We can do this for a little distance. Now, crawl backwards. Crawling backwards is different than crawling forward. You'll feel it right away. Good, really good, from there. So now, we can do, good, come on back up here. All kinds of permutations, derivatives of being in a 4-point position. These are just a few things we could do, but they're really good with it too, right? The other thing we do here too is start getting more of that shoulder involved here too, right? So if I'm an assistant coach, I'm a teammate type thing too, and Kate's gonna be pitching here, I can do some specific dynamic stabilization drills for that shoulder, right? I can have Kate take her arm, bend it about 90 degrees, and maybe turn a little bit this way. I'll get right here. All right. So from here, right, and I want you to spread your fingers, right? Why do we spread our fingers? There's been some interesting studies that I think about in martial arts that this position here increases muscle activity proximally in the shoulder rotator cuff than just having a, loose fingers here. So she's gonna be maximally trying to spread those fingers apart the whole time. And the game is just becomes don't move, right? Don't move, don't move, don't move. So I'm at the shoulder going in a 4-point-ish direction. I'm down here at the forearm doing a 4-point-ish direction. Now I can change positions here too. Again, we take a step forward with one foot. So let's say, yeah, that's perfect, right? Going from there, I can change angles a little bit. We're gonna come out, up a little higher, right? Don't move, 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 don't move. Hold it right there, right? We can come in front a little bit through here too. Change feet again. Right, same thing, don't move, don't move, don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Good. I love it, right? Dynamic prep drills for that shoulder, for that cuff here too. I think the biggest bang is going to be doing like your wall springs we did in the beginning, doing 4-point positions. We can also have, we can grab some easy bands to have, which are easy. Easy, but I didn't bring them up. So, there's all kinds of J bands and things, TheraBands type thing here too, right? So we can, again, anchor something to the side of a backstop. Someone can just play hold, right? So, okay, grab that band, and you're facing the camera, right? What you're gonna do is this. Keep your hand in line with your shoulder and reach straight out in front of you. Don't deviate. Right, so the band's pulling across, she's reaching out. So this wants to take this arm inward. No, Sean, you're good, stay there, stay there, stay there. Straight ahead, don't let it deviate. Straight ahead, right? It's a challenge, right? There you go. So now I can also change, right? You stay there. So now I'm pulling across this way, same thing, move it straight out, don't deviate. Right, working in from there. Excellent, nice job. Good, we can do, you may know the classical movements here too, right? So keep your elbow by your side, Kate, and just have your hand come in towards your stomach, rotate away. Right, some external rotation for the cuff, which is fine. It's a little bit more isolated, but it's also pretty good. We can do that, again, coming from the outward, pulling in, working in from there, outstanding. I'm gonna get down in front and low, so you can see, keep your elbow straight, pull your hand by your hip. But keep your elbow straight though, elbow straight. That, right there. And turn it in a little bit. As you come back, that's it. That's it. Thumb towards your hip, perfect, right through there. And now just give me some rows. Hand to chest. There, that's right there. Working. So there's all kinds of permutations of bands work too. Just don't rely on just bands. Do other things. Get on all fours. Get dynamic. If you got the abilities, if you're at higher levels, get some club bells. Some 5-pound club bells can do some excellent things. That can be a whole different video there as well. All right, we talked about getting some better warm-up, some activation going on. The second thing we can do to help prevent shoulder and elbow injuries is just get the lead leg involved when we're throwing. I think it's been kind of somewhat cutesy. You'll see people doing drills where they're warming up and they're in this kneeling position and they're flipping the ball this way and that way, and maybe they're in half kneeling, and maybe there's a time and place for that, but when the rubber meets the road, we need our lead leg bringing the hips, bringing the trunk, bringing the body, which then brings the shoulder. So I would, as a general rule, never have anybody at any level throwing a ball when they're just, legs are just gonna be here, right? So if Kate backs up here a little bit, right? So here's like the what not to do type thing. I'm just gonna ride with that. Is that no leg action here at all. Even though it's only, whatever, 8 feet, 10 feet, we want to have that body always learning to bring the leg. In fact, I would say oversell the leg, even though we're about 15 feet apart. Again, even if you're not a pitcher, maybe infielder, outfielder, pitcher, catcher, throw with the leg coming, which brings that trunk. So Kate, good. Kate, the softball player here, right? So always bring that leg with you too. Again, oversell it. Thigh high, come in, rotate that leg, and throw. I don't have to throw with heat when we're only 15 feet apart, but I'm getting hips, ankles, knees, or up through here too. This kind of ties into the first part too. Like, there's nothing wrong with actually kind of coming back and just pausing. Want to do it? This is kind of again, dynamic prep drill. I've seen several high school baseball pitchers who had shoulder stuff that when you had them stop here, they were all over the place. They got shorter, their knees bent, their ankles quivered. And think about that. So at the moment of trying to create max rotation, torque production, they don't have a very solid foundation. So maybe there's a history here of ankle sprains, tweaks, other things, or just they don't have that balance. They've moved through transitions so fast, they've never earned the right to have that stability. So a drill here can also be pause and then come through. But the key thing here is lead leg. Give it to me. Always, always, always bring the lead leg. All right, we talked about some warm-up. We talked about bringing our lead leg in here. Our third opportunity to reduce elbow specifically and shoulder injuries with our baseball, softball players is getting in to somebody who can identify what are the common imbalances in both mobility and stability in our system that are causing some wonkiness, shall we say, right? So I would say for baseball players, pitchers, throwers type thing too, the more common imbalances are going to be something with the shoulder, right? So lack of mobility through our shoulder complex. So if Kate, you face that way, right? So I ask Kate to keep her elbow straight and raise your hand if you have a question in class, right? I'm looking at not just the total range of motion, can this arm get 180 degrees, but how does it get there? Does the shoulder blade, which I refer to as the foundation of the house of the shoulder, move along that rib cage and come with you? Does she have to extend and flare her ribs to get to that end range? I've had athletes come back in that, let's just say that, okay, kind of brace your ribs mirror your ribs to your pelvis a little bit, kind of, keep them braced, keep them straight, and I'll do that same thing, and they'll stop about right here, right? And you're like, well, that's not good at all. And then for our softball pitchers, how are you going through that whole K, loop through here too without compensating and making the elbow and shoulder do things they weren't meant to do, right? So shoulder mobility, both for baseball and softball players. Let's have you face your accuser right here too. The other thing I see for both is a lack of mobility in the forearm wrist itself. Now it might be in the ability to turn palm up, it might be in the ability to turn palm down, it might be in the wrist's ability to move into some extension. Usually this is a very common one here too with our softball players, our softball pitchers. They may only have that much. They'll be fine coming down, but they'll see this limitation come up through here too. Really tight and limited in the forearm flexors, wrist flexors coming through here, which do share some of the same real estate as that UCL ligament as well. Now, with our softball players, softball pitchers specifically, you may also see some limitations in the opposite foot. So if you're right-handed, left foot, left-handed, right foot, in that you'll see some ankle limitations, some things here in our ability to bring our foot up or side to side, just maybe some little things that's going to impede as they come through and drive out. They can't load as well through the leg, through the kinetic chain, and again, that's going to play out somewhere else type thing too. So mobility anywhere in the system, in the throwing system, right? So again, from our pinky, wrist, elbow, shoulder, shoulder blade, core, hips, plural, and ankles can be a factor. Our stability issue, right? And just to clarify strength from stability, strength is like what's your load bearing capacity, right? Like what can you do? How fast can you throw? Stability is like the smooth, like how can you keep things in alignment, in ideal position as you move through a series of camera shot by camera shot, 100, 1,000 different positions. It's that interaction of like keeping things mobile. Can it move? Can it do so smoothly without energy leaks during our torque production? So the best thing for that is really to get eyes and hands in with somebody who can do that, evaluate that, and just kind of give you some specific things that you need to work on. All right. The fifth element for preventing shoulder elbow injuries with our baseball, softball players is mechanics. And listen, I can do the therapy for people. I can work on strength and conditioning programs for people. I am not your mechanics guy as far as pitching goes type thing too. I can kind of catch some things with my eye, but there are people out there who have dedicated their time, resources, and knowledge base to doing this. I would find those people out. But all things being equal, even your phone nowadays can provide a useful tool, especially for our younger age kids, if we want to get them started with some really good foundations and fundamentals that they now leverage up over the years versus learning some wonky things that they now plagues them going forward, right? So let's say Kate here is returned to her softball pitching days, right? So going through her, go ahead, Kate, go through the motions here too. The K wind up, the different delivery, having eyes from different point of view, right? So I would get that facing, from the side, from behind, obliquely from other sides too, and where you start to see things happening. Again, they may be really good athletes or really good at covering their compensations at every level type thing here too, right? So different angles may start to reveal that, hey, we don't really have full shoulder motion, and so what we're doing here is we're moving not up, we're moving out, right? We're not close to our ear, we're away from our ear, and as we come through, we're doing more with that elbow to kind of crack the whip through here too. So find a good pitching coach if your daughter, son's doing that, pursuing that type thing too. But again, just get the camera out, record from various positions, and try and see if you can pick up some things earlier versus later. All right, we're on number 6 now of things we can do to start to prevent and get in front of overuse and injuries to our elbow and shoulder for our baseball, softball players. This comes down to the twos, right? Too much, too long, too fast, too short of a recovery. We gotta start playing with the math, right? We gotta do the calculus, right? So we got volume, we got intensity. So every pitcher wants to throw as hard and fast as they can, right? But take that into context. What if you're a sprinter? You're a track athlete, you're a running back. Are you trying to see what your 40-yard dash is every day, every other day? Are you trying to find your new 100-meter PR every day, every other day? Let's take that in a weight room perspective. Are you trying to find the max in your bench, squat, deadlift, hang clean, snatch every day, every other day, your 1 rep max? It's a high neuromuscular load to the system, right? So the nervous system gets loaded, the musculoskeletal system gets loaded, hormone profiles, our endocrine system gets overloaded. You gotta keep track of things. There was a stat a couple of years ago, looked at baseball pitchers specifically, that if a baseball player threw for 100 innings in a year, 12-month calendar, they had a 350% increased risk of elbow shoulder injuries. And unfortunately, a lot of the data has been done with baseball players. Unfortunate that we don't have as much with the softball players. But again, I think looking at pitch counts makes sense, especially at age, right? So like people under 13, years old need more time, need more recovery, should have less reps. Something that's kind of endemic with softball is that we don't have a lot of softball pitchers. So you have teams, high school teams, local teams, traveling teams, that maybe have one, maybe one rock star pitcher and somebody else you can kind of fill in there too. They're doing that during the week. They get to the weekends, you're in tournaments, right? There's no rest for the wicked nor the weary. We gotta protect them. We gotta have different pitch counts in place. We gotta make sure they're getting plenty of rest and recovery in between. And with our baseball pitchers, it can become a little bit of an ego with like the high speed, always showing, under the radar gun. Give yourself at least 48 hours between, and 72 would be better actually, between trying to figure out how hard and how fast I'm throwing. And keep in mind the volume and intensity ratio, right? It's a teeter-totter. If I'm doing higher volume, I'm gonna do less intensity. If I'm gonna do higher intensity, I gotta do less volume. And as a pitching throwing program looks over the course of a season, most of your reps should come into probably in the 65 to 85% intensity range, which builds and grows your gas tank without burning you out. You can always go in and reach for 1 or 2 along the way, but again, most of your volume should not be at the 100% level. So work the numbers, crunch it, take care of yourself and your players. All right. Our seventh and final recommendation to keep yourself healthy through these seasons is simply self-maintenance. Take care of yourself. And I think that starts with number one, sleep. Get to bed without your phone. Don't give me this whole it's my alarm clock thing. Go to Walmart, get a $12 red LED alarm clock. Let that be your alarm clock. Get that thing out of your room because you know it's a distraction. You know you're going to check it. You know something's going to happen with it too. The exposure to blue light at night too is going to impact your circadian rhythm. Sleep is the biggest level up. If you can master your sleep, you're going to be ahead of the game. There's been studies in performance looking at running, be it 40-yard dashes, 100-meter times, that shows for every extra hour of sleep you get, there's like a 10% improvement in your time. I have to believe that's going to carry over to your performance in all things, be it cerebral, be it athletic. So sleep. Number two, nutrition. Eat real food, right? Animal products, plant products, just eat as much real food as you can. Protein is a missing nutrient. Everybody wants to have this great creatine or this great, protein powder. Eat real food, get protein. Eggs, meat, if that's okay for you type thing too. If it's going to be plant-based, I would go more with hemp. Hemp, pea, broccoli for protein sources through there too. Hydrolyzed collagen. Gelatin, yes, the gelatin from Jell-O. Like get all these things into your diet, in your system. And if we're going to do some bonus through here too, get in some magnesium glycinate. Take that at nighttime, which will help with the first part, getting your sleep, as well as add in some of the electrolytes you need too. And speaking of that, stay hydrated. I'm a big fan of LMNT electrolytes, packets, sparkling water cans. There's other ones out there that just for me, it works for me, works for my family, works for my circle of influence, but stay hydrated, especially when you're doing those traveling games in the summer. The second thing, or the other part of that self-maintenance is like soft tissue work. Now, I don't want to get into the debate of like whether we should be icing our arms afterwards. For those who know me, know my position on that. I will say soft tissue work though, after goes a long way. So this is my version of the jackhammer soft tissue tools people get out there too. And we don't need a really high setting. We don't need to punish yourself. I would go with a lower vibration setting and a longer period of time and just start working through that upper system, right? So working through and over the pec tissues from our sternum over into our shoulder and through here too, the higher and lower ones. From there, we can work into all of our shoulder, our deltoid muscles, which are three parts. Got the front, got the middle, got the back. I'd work down along into the bicep, into and past the elbow, working through there. And while we're at the elbow, work into those forearm flexors down into the wrist. Come back on the side, hit those triceps in the back of the arm, realizing there's an outer, an inner, and a medial part through here too. It may be a little bit harder, but like get to that backside or have a nice friend, family member can help you out here too. Work all along that shoulder blade. We have our rotator cuff tissues through there too, especially the one right through here, our lower one. And then alongside between our spine and that shoulder blade and that valley through there as well. Spend a good 10, 15 minutes through all those tissues in totality, right? We can also turn that off. We can also use some of our other tools. We can get like lacrosse balls, we can get tennis balls, we can get racket balls, and do things. I'm gonna have, come this way. So I can put that, say from those front shoulder pec tissues, coming in there and just kind of pinning it against the wall, finding sticky, spicy spots. I can have this arm kind of sweeping across. I can have it just kind of doing some isometrics, kind of pulling into the wall for a few seconds, relaxing for a few seconds to really work some different knots out. I can do that same thing on the back side, back to that shoulder blade area. I can kind of find some spicy spots in through there and pin it, which just don't move, and then do some rotations around that. I can do some isometric holds around that, on and off, just to try and get that to thaw up a little bit. I like having two tennis balls, tennis, not lacrosse, two tennis balls in a sock, make a little peanut roller. We can do that by putting that through our shoulder blades, going from top to bottom while we're laying down. You're gonna kind of roll to find that stiff, spicy spot. Once you find it, stop rolling, drop your hips, Give yourself a nice big bear hug. Love yourself. Have a slow, full, deep breath. Pull the elbows into the ground. Same slow, full, deep breath. And just kind of stay there till it feels better. Roll down a little bit further. This is only from the top to the bottom of your shoulder blades, not your neck, not your low back. And then also, finally, we get a foam roller. We'll do it this way. We can come through here. Again, start with like the lats, our back muscles. Working through there, rolling, breathing. If you find a really knotty rumble strip type spot, stop, park it, do some isometrics, like you're trying to like pull your arm back behind you in a paddleboard motion. Couple seconds on, couple seconds off. Work through there. I get along my shoulder blade and just start working my arm a little bit, kind of working the kinks out. I can also do my triceps in through here. I can do biceps in through here, get into my chest a little bit through here, and a little bit of my upper back all in through here. So take care of yourself. There's long seasons between the high school teams, or the junior high teams, high school teams, the college season, the travel season. There's a lot of time under tension, a lot of reps to be had. You got to keep yourself going there for the distance. I guess like then 7B would be this too, I guess. I said 7, we'll go with 7. 7B is spend time in the off season growing your gas tank, working on your overall strength, working on your overall cardiovascular, working on your mobility. Do those things here too, because I think people, to make an analogy, are trying to drive across country with a 4-gallon tank. We got to give you a bigger capacity, a bigger work tolerance. And then in season 2, it's also okay to keep that going. We're going to drop that volume down, right? But we got to keep doing something, because the seasons are too long just to do nothing and rely on our sport to keep us, in shape and conditioned and ready for the rigors of our sport. So, good luck. Hope not to see you in my office anytime soon. Take care of yourselves. Be good.